Hello and welcome to ETEnergyWorld. I am Sudhir, he is Bilal.
Hi.
And this is an update on the budget announcements that were made today and their impact on the energy sector. So Bilal, what is your understanding of the oil and gas sector as far as the main developments and the key takeaways from the budget are concerned?
Right. So, I'll talk about the hit first. And the reason why I say hit is because there's only one hit. That is under Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. That is the scheme where BPL families, especially women in BPL families, get access to LPG connections free of cost. Right. Under that, the number has been increased to 8 crore now from 5 crore earlier. So that really is a positive move because it increases energy access in the rural population, which is very much needed. Now let's come back to the misses. The biggest miss right now, which probably can be a big problem for the government, would be the petroleum subsidy. Right, the petroleum subsidy allocated for FY19 is marginally, a little bit higher than FY18, just 2%.
So
Right.
why is that a problem?
The petroleum subsidy allocated for FY19 is just 2% higher than what it was in FY18. Now, ICRA believes that this subsidy given can fall short by 11,000 crore. Okay, now that is a problem. So we are still not clear. The FM didn't mention what was the crude oil price which was assumed to come or at the petroleum subsidy. Now, besides that, the FM didn't mention about petroleum products being under the ambit of GST. Well, normally you do not talk about these matters during the budget, but considering the concerns of the oil and gas industry, who have been voicing their concerns very loudly in since GST was out, there wasn't mention of that. The other thing was oil cess.
So you're saying that the industry was expecting some kind of an announcement
At
or
least
some
a
provision,
hint,
at
right.
least a hint, to give clarity on whether or not petroleum products are going to be included in GST.
Right, or the GST Council may take it up more seriously, or it is in sight in the coming future.
Okay.
The other thing was oil cess. A lot of companies were talking about decreasing the ad valorem rate of 20% to 8%. Even that didn't find any mention in the FM speech at all. So these were the major I would say fails for this budget. One interesting thing which has happened is, if you look at the budget documents, the government has cut the excise duty on petrol and diesel by rupees 2.
There have been reports saying that how this has come as a relief.
Right, and absolutely, and people are believing that that would lead to petrol and diesel prices going down at a point where it is at record level highs. Diesel has been the highest in the country since a week since independence, and petrol has been trading at 2014 level highs when crude oil prices were at $100. Okay. The reason why I say that the interesting part about this is that in spite of 2 rupees being cut, it has been offset by a new levy. Now the new levy comes under the road and infra cess, right? So the road and infra cess now levies rupees 8 per litre of petrol and diesel, right? But they have abolished the road cess, which was rupees 6. So essentially,
So you increase it by 8 rupees and decrease it by 6 rupees. The net effect is you are saying an increase of 2 rupees per litre.
Right, and now with the excise duty cut of 2 rupees, everything has been equalized, neutralized. Okay. So basically, consumers will still have to pay what they were paying earlier.
Okay.
So we've talked about oil and gas. How do you think the budget fared for the power and renewable sector?
Bilal, if you look at the overall implication of the budget announcements on the power and renewable sector, the impact is positive, but the announcements that have been made are slightly in the nature of being populist. But yes, I'm saying positive because the budget has provided for increased allocation, or at least has given a lot of clarity on allocation for 3 major schemes, including the Saubhagya scheme, 16,000 crore allocated for that, and also DDU GJY, which is Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana. It's a village electrification program that mainly focuses at feeder segregation. and also IPDS, Integrated Power Development Scheme. These three things, I think the budget has talked about them, and these are very key areas for the overall growth of the sector. So that makes it very positive. At the same time, the budget has also slightly touched upon the renewable energy sector, saying that so it has basically provided for some kind of a mechanism that will be developed for allowing state distribution companies to take up surplus solar power for supply to solar irrigation pumps
For farmers.
for farmers.
Right.
So that is again a very big positive.
Right.
Particularly given the huge focus that this government has on reforming the farm sector
Right.
and improving the overall health of the sector.
Right.
Third very important area they're talking about is also increased capital expenditure by railways, which is a huge consumer of power. So increased capex by railways for expanding their route electrification projects.
Right.
So that way that is likely to spur up demand
Right.
also, and that's a very positive move. But in the overall analysis, I have to say that it kind of misses out, like it did in the oil and gas sector, on one key industry expectation, which was the industry was expecting some kind of clarity on the main issue of
Tariffs? Solar?
of solar import duties,
Oh,
right? So
right.
there has been a lot of talk
Safeguard
of
duties.
safeguard duty,
Right.
Anti-dumping duty, import duty, and all of that. And the industry was really looking forward to some kind of clarity on that from the FM in this budget,
Right.
because that's a very important topic, and that has been missed out.
Right.
Now, so that's something to watch out for how it pans out.
So, Sudhir, just to understand, I think there were a lot of problems related to PPAs being signed in the renewable sector, right? So, was there any mention of that in the budget too?
The budget doesn't talk about that. So the issue you're referring to is basically how state distribution companies are going back or
Right.
backtracking on the PPAs already signed,
Right.
in the light of the recent auctions where prices have dropped to significant low levels.
Right.
Clarity would have could have come on that front also, but that has again been missed out. But Bilal, at the same time, I must say that when I'm talking to experts, they're giving me the impression that it was already not expected that renewable energy sector will be touched upon in a huge or any major significant way in this budget, for the simple reason that there is a view that this sector has already reached some level of maturity and stability.
Right.
Particularly after prices dropped significantly in recent auctions. So there's a view that if the cost of power has come down to as low as less than 3 rupees,
Right.
then the sector is it may not at some level require a lot of intervention in the form of subsidies or incentives.
Right.
So to some level it's a mature sector.
But not talking about the safeguard duty, now there are chances again that the prices of around 3 will not take place, right? Because mostly there are chances that imported solar panels and solar modules may attract a lot of safeguard and or anti-dumping duties.
So the current status is that the Director General of Safeguards has recommended a 75% duty on imports. Basically, the idea is to curb Chinese imports
Right.
of modules.
Right.
But at the same time, the matter is now the matter is being decided by. The matter is in the court, and the Madras High Court has currently put a stay
Right.
on the matter. So it's still to be decided. It's
Right.
still being discussed. It will be very interesting to see how it.
So the major hits being Saubhagya, the major hits being PMUI, the major hit being
The biggest hit, and because of all of these schemes, the main focus of this budget, I think, which is my key takeaway at least from this budget as far as power and renewables is concerned,
Right.
is the focus on expanding the the energy access for the last mile person.
Right.
That is the
Right.
biggest and the key takeaway,
Right.
because that is ultimately something that is going to spur up the demand also significantly, and that is required.
So let's hope everything pans out the way the government has intended.
Yes. So I think that's all from our end for this, as far as this budget is concerned. Keep watching for more.